What is going on? Welcome to the River Run podcast. I'm your host, Adam, and I thank you for coming on down. Tonight, it's going to be a fun show, but before that, let's... All right. Welcome. I have an awesome show lined up. Before we get into it, though, I want to give you guys a little juice about the River Run podcast. This is really new, coming on Paddle and Fin. It is new for me as a podcast host, as I have never gone down that route before, but I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be fun. I got a lot of unique guests lined up. I got anglers, bait makers, you name it. They're there, tackle shop owners, whatnot. I want to keep this interesting, and I want to shed the light on Canada, because Canada has an amazing community of anglers from East Coast to West Coast, all over. And, we need to share that. And also the United States has an amazing group of anglers too. So at the end of the day, the River Run is about you guys. It is here for you guys. Let's get it started. It's going to be a lot of fun. So my first guest for the very first episode is Jay Brown. So I want to bring him on to the show. So let's give a warm welcome for Jay Brown. Jay.
Mr. Pross.
Hey, man. What's going on?
Hey, I'm excited, dude. This is exciting times. Like,
it's awesome.
It's your first podcast.
I know. Like, it's this is fun, man. And you know what? I couldn't think of a better person to come and sit on this podcast with me than Jay Brown, or as some people might know you as Downtown Jay Brown. I know you got a couple names, but I know you as Jay Brown. You're a brother, a good friend, and at the same time, I have to say, welcome to the show. Now, for the people that don't know you, who's Jay? Let them know who's Jay Brown. Where are you from?
Jay Brown, Southern Ontario guy. I'm fortunate enough to be on Team Bonafide, Team Yak Attack, Pro Staff at USA, an ambassador at Lineac Batteries, mainly focusing on largemouth, dabble with a little bit of the smallmouth and Lakers. But
nice. That's cool. That's really cool. Southern Ontario, hey? That's Southern Ontario is a beautiful area. Like you're close to obviously Niagara Falls, Niagara River, and you got some big lakes down there too that I'm sure you enjoy fishing.
Well, I'm going to be honest. 25 years of fishing central northern Ontario. You can almost guarantee I'm up there whenever I get a chance. Right, that's my stomping grounds. Believe it or not.
Nice. I like that. If there was one species that you were gonna chase, like what is it to you? Like what is that one? Like for me, it's smallmouth. Like river smallmouth, I get jacked up. It fires me up. Like I can't explain it. Like I don't understand how this small brown bronzeback fish just drives me absolutely bonkers. So what's that one fish for you? What's that species, man?
It's always been buckets, man. Buckets. And, growing up, catching smallmouth, because they were so abundant, it was like, it was like rock bass. I never considered them great. I always chased buckets, and then about 4 years ago, I started hammering some true as Andrew Cohen would say, Madagascar giant smallies. And it just got me hooked. Like, honestly, two different bites, completely. And but you can't. I like to say I'm a bass fisherman because they both have their qualities, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. 100%.
So yeah.
No, I have to say, like, for me, like, I love, like, we're all out there for the same reason, right? We're all out there to feel that tug. You know what I mean? We're all chasing for that bent rod. Yeah, no, I definitely love the smallmouth fight. I love the chase. You know, the fight is, you know, pound for pound, in my opinion, is probably one of the most hard hitting fish out there. For just being a small bass, and they're not all that small, but largemouth, man. Like I enjoy fishing largies, like in the pads, you know, not so much flipping, but I'm more finesse that way. But yeah, no. But you know, I think at the same time, like you have in Canada, in Ontario alone, like there's just so many different styles fisheries out there to go and, you know, conquer those, you know, buckets, you know, those full on tanks, you know, like it's endless. I think the wilderness just makes it that much more fun, you know?
Well, you know, we are lucky because, you know, one of the lakes that I focus on, it's only got largemouth and smallmouth, right? And talking with a buddy of mine, Clinton Bruning, he's down in Texas. He's like, man, you're so lucky to get smallies. And I think we take it for granted because we're like,
I think we do.
But I'm like, dude, you're catching, you know, 8s, 9s, DDs. I'd take that any day over a brown fish, you know. But hey,
you know what? That it's true, you know, and I think that's, you know, you see a lot of these people who go and, you know, they have different fisheries, especially down in the States. Like, you know, if you look at like Lake Okeechobee, you know, like look at the giants that come out of there, or you go down to the Geniata, or even the Susquehanna, you know, like you look at the smallmouth that come out of that, or even if you go to the, you know, the swim bait guys, they're, you know, West Coast California, look at the tanks that they pull out of there. So I think what's even kind of brings me to my next part is that this is really unique. And this is what I really wanted to get into was, now when you look at, there's a lot of different brands out there, you know, Jackson's, you know, a big one for me. Absolutely love my Jackson. Jay, you have an unbelievable following. Like, just to say, like, the amount of love that is just being shot out for Jay Brown right now is absolutely incredible. And he look at that smile. He loves every minute of this, and all the guys talking about smallies too. I love it. But you have a very unique position in Canada, that you are the only Canadian, or I would say international, Bonafide Pro Staff. Like, there's nobody else in Canada like this. Nobody else in and around the
worldwide.
Like, man, that's an amazing accomplishment, Jay. Like, dude, that's, you know, it's one thing, you know, there's a lot of great companies out there with amazing teams, but to say that, hey, I'm Jay Brown, I'm Bonafide's international man of mystery. You know what I mean? Like, dude, like, that's awesome.
Sound like Austin Powers, you know?
Yeah, groovy, baby.
You know, but
yeah,
you know, I personally, I don't like to be, you know, Mr. Bonafide, because I mean, I lucked out, I guess. I got a phone call from Mr. Dave Omer, the team captain at Bonafide.
Okay, but hold on here. Like, I got to know something here before you just tell me you got a call. Like, how does one just get a call? But like, how did Bonafide come in that way?
Well, I mean, I had been rocking a different kayak before I bought my first Bonafide in 2017, the end. And then I had an issue with it, and I jumped at the chance. I didn't care. It cost me, like 20 back then, like 2,700, 2,600 to bring the Bonafide over. Fell in love with it. It's the perfect platform for me. What I do, we do back lakes, car camping. So, anyways,
Yeah.
just being supportive and it came as a shock. It really did come as a shock when I got a call from Dave Omer. He said, "Hey, you don't have to take it if you don't want it." Like, are you kidding me? Sure, I'd be on it.
Yeah, don't take it if you. Honestly, Jay, like I have to say, like that had to feel pretty damn good, dude. Like I, for one, Bonafide, like I have to say, they have a pretty unique style of kayak. Like I get it, like a lot of kayak brands. There's fishing and whitewater and recreational kayaks, but I've always noticed one thing about Bonafide, and for me, it's Bonafide has a very tactical looking kayak. Like something I would almost say you would see, like you would think like Navy SEALs might be popping out of. You know what I mean? Like every time I see it, like it just and I think that's really cool. But like at the same time, like when you started kayak fishing, a lot of people would say like, oh, did you know about Bonafide, or you had your brand. I'm sure back then you probably just thought, well, I have a fishing rod and I'm going to go out with my paddle and my PFD, and I'm going to go. And when you caught that bug, and for Bonafide, as a international man there, like in Canada, like Bonafide in Ontario is recently really growing. And I also noticed you started a Facebook group, and I believe that is the north of the border Bonafide.
North of the border Bonafide Kayaks Facebook group.
Nice.
Hey, it's growing slowly. Bonafide, like you said, there's 3 dealers in Ontario. I believe one in Quebec.
Is that for Quebec? Is that Kayak Junkie?
It might be. I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries.
Live Outside, Frontenac, and then there's a new guy in the Ottawa area, AOY.
AOV. Yeah. They're out, and I believe it's like Perth, the Perth area. Like it's west of Ottawa.
Okay, so
I believe I could be wrong. Arnprior maybe, but no, that's pretty neat. Now, that's something new for Frontenac too. That Bonafides will be there, because that's not a brand that they've carried before, correct?
They just got to become a dealer within the last month. So yeah, it's growing. I mean, to me, and when you said tactical, Bonafide it was created as a soul fishing kayak. Like there was not, they didn't get into it from a recreational standpoint. It was designed for anglers, by anglers, and same with all the others. But
so Bonafide has a pretty cool lineup though. Like, the Skip, RVR, so I learned about Bonafide was strictly through Chad Hoover. Chad Hoover, he was always on, I believe it was kayak bassing, and on social media I used to see him post about it, and I believe Gene Jensen too. I think you have another Team Bonafide member too. I think who's listening right now, Matt Souders down in Ohio from the Catch Podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So but when you look at the lineup, like they do have a pretty cool lineup. But if you had to pick one Bonafide, what would be that Bonafide? And before you tell us about the new boat that you just can't wait to share, what would be that one Bonafide? If you were to pick one that was going to be the one that you had to go out every day with, what would it be? Back Lakes, river, what would it be?
Okay, so I got the PWR 129. I haven't even sat in it yet. It's rigged, it's ready to go. I just haven't had a chance to get out in it. I'm still gonna say the SS 127 is one kick-ass platform. I don't care what anybody says. I've got two of them. Actually, I sold one, but they were that good. It is. Next is my PWR, but I'm hoping to get the Skiff 117, even though it was designed as a flats boat. I think it's the perfect rig for those expeditionary lakes where you just want to get in and fish from something stable. It's low. It's everything. So, but I'm still going to say 127 is one hell of a kick-ass rig.
Now, that kind of would bring us to the next part. So your new kayak, you actually went like quite a ways to pick that up, man. Like I went to pick up my new Jackson Bite FD last summer. I went to Saranac Lake, New York, and I went to Woods and Waters. And I picked up my first ever pedal drive, as since the beginning of my kayaking has started almost 10 years ago. It wasn't until last summer that I actually got myself into a pedal drive. I've solely been a paddler, and that's where my heart's at. But yeah, no, I would definitely say, man, like I remember you telling me, so like you went to one of the biggest, it would be one of the bigger shows down in Ohio there.
It was it was the first year for the Great Lakes Fishing Expo.
Okay.
Jesse French down in Ohio, owner of Blue Rock Tackle.
Okay. Yeah.
Blue Rock Custom Tackle. He put it on. And one of my teammates, Dustin Hoy, who owns Raccoon Outfitters down in Ohio, had a booth, section there. So I had just said, hey, man, would you like some help? As teammates, right?
Team building's huge, dude.
Yeah. So he's like, you sure you're going to come down? I'm like, hell yeah. Like, why wouldn't I? Dave Omer was down there, Aaron Proper, Dustin Hoy. I bumped into the guys from, you say the name, Ackinen?
Oh, the Achigan brand.
Achigan brand.
The Achigan brand were there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't as far as going to, the factory to get it, but I picked it up. Dustin said, hey, why don't you just grab one while you're down here? And I was like, you sure? And he was like, yeah. So big props to my boy, Dustin Hoy from Raccoon.
Oh, man. No, that's super cool. That's, it's neat, especially when you drive home with that new rig. Like I can't wait to use it. To be honest, like it was almost a month before I actually got out in mine, just because of like everything that was going on. But at the end of the day, like, man, it was a really cool experience. And there's nothing funner than rigging a new boat. Like, it is that time where you're like, okay, how am I going to do this? And you're like online, you're Googling everything just to see, like, you're on the team page or you're talking with friends about how would you rig that, or what screens do you run on this? So being a member of the Yak Attack Pro Staff, like, man, like that could get really fun. You know what I mean? Like, you have endless options at this point, like just like anybody else, but your options, and to get your hands on the right gear, because Yak Attack is, I would say is quite up there for being the rigging solutions for kayaks, with a lot of great products on their line. But your new kayak,
Adam, I like to think of Yak Attack as adult Lego. You take a little bit of that.
That's an awesome way to look at it.
Well, you take a little bit of this, you take a little bit of that. You get the quarter 20s and that they sell, and you use a couple of wing nuts and this and that, and you got yourself, something new. But yeah, talking about rigging, mine is probably the most basic rig out there. I don't have anything special because I like to keep it minimal, right? Like, I've just got a 7-inch, sonar, side scan, motor in the back. And really, that's all I need, right? For the style of fishing that I do. Now, I mean, rigging, and everybody else knows, you can rig up to 20 grand, 25 grand. Into them. But I like to keep it plain and simple,
And there's nothing wrong. To be honest, I love just the basic. Like a couple of years ago, I just went back to the basic with everything. And for me, that was just a more enjoyable experience while I'm out on the water. It's nothing wrong wanting to go and rig your boat out with, this, that, and everything. And the kitchen sink. There's nothing wrong with that. If that makes you happy, cool. But for me, I'm very basic in the way that I do it. Like even going out with like electronics and stuff, I'll go out on certain bodies of water with them, but not all bodies of water. And I don't run the same style setups for that. But I like to just keep it basic. I don't want, to me, it's still a little bit more overwhelming in that sense. But I think there's something that's pretty neat too, is that you're also a team member for Fish USA, and Fish USA is in the US and you're Canadian. So Jay Brown, explain this one to me here. Like, this is neat. Like, once again, you have done it with this international man of mystery at this point. So Fish USA, that's cool. Like, they have a lot of fantastic products, and from all sorts of brands. You know what I mean? Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, Fish USA has been extremely great to me since 2018. Again, I was invited to be on their pro staff as a Canadian angler. And I jumped at the chance. I mean, Fish USA, it doesn't matter if it's the guys in receiving to the guys up front. They're all amazing. Dan Pastor built it. Actually, one of the things about Fish USA, they are one of the first tackle stores to go online ever.
Really?
Yes.
That's neat.
Yes. So it's not like they're a new brand. Dan took a chance on going e-commerce when a lot of people said nobody's going to buy a rod and reel online. They want to touch it, feel it. Well, they jumped at it. And one of the, but they're great. I'm not just saying that. These guys are fantastic. Everybody's fantastic. You walk in there and they make you feel like family.
That's awesome, man. That's like, there's nothing better than having that sense of camaraderie, like that way to come together with everything. That acceptance, it's huge, and that's really cool. That I think you have a very fantastic elite lineup there of people who are just saying, like Jay Brown, like we really like what you do. But I think there's actually something really unique about you and I, is that we're car campers, right? We're guys that we drive 6 to 8 hours and we car camp. We have setups in the cars that work, you know, for those overnight hauls, those weekends living out of your car. Man, like, tell me, like, how did you come about this? Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, for me, like, I honestly did it because, you know, I thought, well, if you're gonna be out there, you might as well launch early in the morning, might as well sleep at the ramp, you know. So then I got, you know, creative, and I had a setup in the back of my Journey, and before you knew it, I was, you know, trailer back there. And yeah, no, like, I absolutely love car camping weekends, and it's gotten to the point where it's just like, it's just so much fun to get away, and, you know, you're right there. So back lakes, rivers, oh man.
Well, it all actually, I can't take credit for it. I got to give another shout out to Drew Cohen.
Drew
Cohen. He's been my fishing buddy since it's got to be 2018. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so he actually started it, and he's like, okay, if he tells you, you know, be there at, you know, 5 o'clock, you got to be there at 3 because he's already put in at 3. Like, he's just crazy. But he started car camping, and he's like, dude, why don't we just, you know, we can chill that night, rig up, and then push off in the morning with no rush. So that's what we started to do. And, you know, I had a little bit of an incident a couple years ago, which I don't want to get into, but I still do a lot of car camping. Once my stuff goes in the car, it'll probably go in the next week or so. It does not come out until December. So I got my sleep pad, mattress, my gear is in there.
Yeah.
I'm ready to rock and roll. So when I get the call, I can go. I'm just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, like, I use, you know, I use a couple different ways of sleeping in there, and the Dodge Journey actually has a lot of room. And I can actually have all my rods in there too, and I've strategically placed my gear so it's not so I'm not sleeping, you know, uncomfortable. But yeah, there's been times too where it's like, it is impressively hot, and I don't know how I did it. And then there was other times I remember going, you know, in September when you get into those cold evenings. And I remember that night I woke up and I want to say it was like -5 out there. And I was just like,
Sure.
I was like a mummy. Like, you could just see, like, this is Adam's face. And he was just like,
Yeah.
This is just straight crazy. Like, why do we do it? You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, why do we choose? It's just, there's so much passion involved in it. You know, there's this drive, you know, to go out there and chase fish, whether, you know, you're on the, you know, a lake, river, but, you know,
it's sort of a necessity, right? Like,
yeah, like, I personally need it hugely, you know?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go car camping. It was, well, if I'm going to go up, rather than get up at, you know, 12:30, because like I said, you know, normally I drive a minimum 4 hours to wherever I'm going to fish, and then fish drive home. So it would make more sense for me to drive up at night where, you know, traffic's at a minimum. I get a good night's sleep. You know, you get up at 4, have a bit of coffee, and you're pushing off, man. Like,
amen to that. Like, 110%. There's nothing better than being out there. It's this, like, the sun's like not ready to come out yet. You're having that first sip of that coffee, and you're getting into your boat. Oh, like, it's honestly therapy for my soul. Like, that to me is something that I live for that. Like, just being able to be out there. I'm grateful for the opportunity and very thankful, you know, because in everything going on in life, that's just, you know, that's what brings me back down to it. But hey, we are going to take a quick break, and I'm going to have some more questions for Jay Brown after this quick message from Jackson Kayak. All right, we are back. We are back. So, you know, when you get into, you know, back lakes or just fishing, what is the, like? I know we all kind of have a, you know, some guys will say, you know, they're finesse guys. Like I would say, I'm probably more a finesse fisherman than I am, you know, any other. But you know, for you, like, you know, chasing buckets on back lakes, car camping, like, what's a technique that, you know, really sells it for you out there, you know, that does catch those buckets, you know, with the jigs, you know, plastics, swim baits, you know, frogs, you know, what is it for you?
You know, up until about 8 years ago, I power fisherman, crankbait, spinner baits, you know, and then I started to get into swim baits. Well, paddle tails, I don't really consider paddle tails swim baits, but you know, there's another great Canadian angler, Eric Foy, out of Sudbury area. He is a diehard swim bait guy. He got me into it. Spent a lot of time on the water with them, skunking. But that's kind of where I was for the last about 6 years.
If you look at your social media, like a lot of your earlier stuff there, man, like you have some impressive, well, for one, like some amazing looking craftsmanship of swim baits, but at the same time, like some absolute hogs, dude. Like you know, and you know, swim baits is a whole rabbit hole. Like we could definitely go down that, and you know, and this would probably turn into a 4-hour episode, but
let me finish. So I don't know what happened, but I got totally into finesse jigs. Like in the last,
I like that, man.
So the last year and a half, but more so last year, I took it on like a swim baiter where I left everything other. So I had my swim baits, but I brought my jigs, but I focused solely on the jig bite. I've never been a jig fisherman, plastics. I bugged guys like Warren Wong, that poor guy Warren Wong.
Warren Wong. Like,
dude, I called that guy so much, and I'm like, and he's like, it'll come together. And it started to come together late last year, and you know what? Jigs catch pigs. That's all I can say. And I mean, I just put in another $200 order for jigs. You know.
Oh man. You know what?
I just take, like, when I find something, I just go hardcore, 110%, because there's
nothing wrong with that.
You know, you just got, So
now, when you go in, but like when you get in, just going back into finesse jigs here, I love finesse jigs. Finesse jigs are, you know, always something that I have tied on. I traditionally fish finesse jigs, spinning though. I generally run, you know, a 7 foot to 7'2", 3 maybe, medium extra fast. and 25 to 3,000 size reel with anywhere between 8 to 10, maybe 15, depending what I'm working. But yeah, no, for me, I personally love tying my own finesse jigs. Something I've gotten into. But no, for me, I love the jig bite. Like, it can be there's a lot of different jigs out there. There's a lot too that you can fish multiple different ways.
Yeah.
But finesse jigs are cool. My favorite, I always use a craw trailer, and I know that you're going to say you need to try something else. So what's your little secret trailer there? Like, you don't have to give all the juice if you don't want to, but you always tell me to try this. So I think this is a pretty cool idea, actually.
Well, I thought I was being smart. Like, oh, hey, I stumbled across this until after I did it. I noticed people have done it. But I ended up just throwing a Ned on, a Z-Man, regular Ned as a trailer. And it gets bit, man. I'm telling you now, it just gets bit. I told you my theory on why I think it works. And I think, believe it or not, the Juvie Craw by Great Lakes, the design of that new Juvie Craw.
Yes.
It's
Great Lakes finesse.
Yeah. It's a torpedo shape, right? Because it's that bass escaping or fleeing. So I don't know if the Ned, and actually you got me onto the Zaza Ned by Nico Bates, and actually I did all black with black high tech football jig is what I hammered my PB on late last year. So
the Jared Swindle bait right there, I tell you, the black.
I think of Warren Wong. He told, never mind.
Warren Wong is a jig fisherman. I have spent time out on the water with that guy, and he has an absolute lineup of jigs ready. And if you just watch his social media, like his videos that he films of him, and you just see him there, and it's just like, you can tell it's just like, woof. Like, he puts his whole back into that thing, and he brings it in. Like, I'll be honest, a lot of people the one video or photo you would have seen, a lot of people don't understand like how big that fish was that he caught. Like,
dude, he caught a 7-1 last year, followed up by a 6-8 largemouth. So to me, that is the equivalent of, I would say, an 8-pound smallmouth. Like, you don't hear too many guys doing that. Now he does jigs, but I know he likes punching as well. And
he's a sniper out there. Like, he's a straight up sniper, man.
I mean, as a hammer, I know he does some tournaments, but he does a lot of events, with Hard Knocks, stuff with Peter Young, and
yes,
the guy is as friendly as
he is. He's a fantastic human being.
Yakin and Bassin on IG, you gotta follow him.
If you're gonna give anybody a follow, if you're not already following Jay Brown, definitely follow him and all his adventures. But Warren Wong, 110%. Check him out. He is a jig master, as I call it. But no, like, when it comes to like jigs, like especially like football jigs, like, I love dragging a football jig on the bottom of the St. Lawrence River, and I'll usually run for craw style trailers a Z-Man Batwings. The Batwings is like, it's my favorite craw trailer. I love Z-Man plastics. The Elastec, it's like, for an angler on a budget, that is my it's your best bang for your buck, because I can go through, very little plastic in a day of fishing, and still come home and not be like, by the way, I got to go to the tackle shop now because I got to go restock up on all those baits that I just gave to the fish. But yeah, no, that's another thing too, Jay. Like, you at the same time have you are involved in those events. You've taken your time with the Kayak Fishing Life Chio event. You've been a great supporter of that, and before I was even brought onto that, like, that was you were one of the sole players in that, and even Kayak Bass Canada too. Yeah, you're quite the influential person that way, like.
No, I wouldn't say influential. Just a part. I was lucky, even with Kayak Bass Canada. Aaron Dodds and I have been.
Hold on a second. Speaking of that, we got to give a big birthday shout out to Aaron. He's getting one day older, and happy birthday, Aaron. Yeah, it's his birthday today, dude. It's his birthday. Yeah, so
happy birthday. Happy
birthday, brother. But no, Aaron,
and I can't remember his birthday.
I've seen it. But no, like, I'm just like, I was just going through the comments, and Jay, like, I can't get over the amount of love that these people are sharing, and it's whether it's fishing, Jay Brown this and Jay Brown that, I think you've really left an imprint on a lot of people, like, but I think at the same time, dude, like, tell me, like, what is going on with your fishing season? Like, what do you got planned? Like, I know you may not want to share all the glorious details, but like, hey, I know you and I have to get out fishing, so we've got to try to figure that out somewhere, in all of it.
Well, part of it is some people may know, some people may not know. I'm a nurse, so my schedule has just changed completely. So I couldn't really make a lot of plans this year. I mean, there was a lot of tournaments I would have liked to have done. The Survivor Series with Team Brothers, the Water and Dirt Festival, but I can't commit to any of that because I don't know, like, getting the time off.
Yeah, so, that's understandable. But like, at the same time, you're still going to get out and go fishing here. Like, that's that's the important thing. You're doing something that makes you happy. At the end of the day, and fishing is that.
One of the things I've learned, so as a when you're a swim baiter, you really got to learn certain lakes. Like, you just can't go to a new lake, sling a bait all day long, and hope that you hit a home run. You have to really learn a lake or a body of water. Like, I mean, put in the time, like a year or 2 years of just going, okay, I know this lay down, I know this, I know where they're going to move, but when a cold front moves in. So
I totally agree with that. I think that's very important comment.
So this year, I'm going to introduce the Lower Niagara River.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it's steps away from me, and it's a great fishery. 6, 7s, 8-pound smallies. Pardon me, and but I'll still be doing. There's another lake up where I'm at. I'm hoping to hit with a couple other anglers. Can't really say yet, but I like focusing on three lakes, because when you're swinging for the fences, okay, so I'm a big bass chaser.
Yeah.
So I'm swinging for the fence every time I get out. I'm always like, okay, today's the day. But in order to do that on lakes, you have to know that they're there. And two, you've got to put the time in. Going to 100 different lakes a year, you're going to catch fish. But if you want to catch consistent quality fish, you have to be consistent on certain, your 3 lakes. And I try to tell guys that, because I spent a lot of time, Andrew Cohen and I, man, we would hit, well, the one day we hit 4 different lakes within like the Muskoka area, central Ontario. We started off Lake Muskoka, and then we ended up here, then there. We ended up in Parry Sound, came back to another area. And I mean, they're great adventures. They're great. But he will tell you the same thing, is that in order to be proficient in catching quality bass, another guy, David Fye, will tell you the same thing. You have to really kind of hone in onto these 2 to 3 lakes and fish them hard, and they get rewarded.
It's funny you talk about that, because that is such a good point to make. When you look at like angler development, like just as you may be coming into the sport, or you've been in the sport for a while, there's no better way than to go out on the same body of water and dissect it. Understand how it changes, understand where those fish move to, and don't just understand it if you can in the summertime. Understand these bodies of water throughout the seasons, and the way the fish change, the way they migrate. You can. There's nothing wrong with going and exploring multiple different bodies of water. Always doing new lakes, and I was very much so that way when I first got into it. Oh yeah, for sure, go. But the thing is it's really true. Like, the only way, if you really want to become more proficient out on the water, and your technique and the way that you're going to adapt as an angler to the conditions around you, and do it on a body of water that you become more and more familiar with. And homework is a huge part of that. You know what I mean? Your map studies and everything too. For me personally, but
yeah, and listen to experienced anglers. Like, I thought, I'm going to admit, like, I thought I knew what I was doing, but before I even get into that, I got to tell you, Nelly says hi to you. Nelly Nelson,
what's going on?
But Nelson brought up, like, we were just having a conversation, and he's like, I didn't do well on this thing because I was fishing the cold side of the lake. I'm like, what do you mean the cold side? He goes, well, it wasn't the warm side. Yeah. And then he explained it to me. I'm like, oh my God. And so these are the small things that, whether you're an experienced angler or a newbie, like, pick up on the small things from your buddies, because it's that alone can make or break your day, right?
Oh, for sure.
At, where the wind's been for the last 3 days, and because if it's been blowing an east wind and you've got an east-west lake, one side's actually going to be a little higher than the other, so, but anyways, but yeah, that's one of the things, you see a lot on YouTube, but when you're talking with guys, they give you a lot of information.
I think the more you understand your fishery, and like I'm one of those firm believers in understanding not just the fish, right? And somebody once told me, Travis Myers, he said to me, before you understand the owl, you need to understand the mouse. Yeah. And I was like, wow, a light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I got to understand why, like, the mouse, what does the mouse do that makes the owl do this? You know what I mean? And, you got to look at, vegetation, your forage, like this rock, like, there's a reason why, I believe everything it does the way things that it do to be, the fish that, they haul to one side, they pick those deeper pools, understanding levels, why are things high? And yeah, no, I think you bring up that's a really good point. The more you do it.
Who that Andrew guy with the Tackle Talk podcast?
Andrew Haynes. Yeah, the Tackle Talk.
That guy, I'm telling you, I saw his series on bait and invertebrate. That guy went so deep, I was like amazed.
Those are fantastic.
But that led me to look at, patterns of smallmouth, right? When I was looking at crayfish and how they attack them, and I've talked to you about my theory of why I think a Ned works better than, a quad bait.
Yes.
But, when you, on YouTube, I was watching this one video, and it was smallmouth chasing goby. And when you see how fast those gobies go from point A to B and the smallies attack it.
Yeah.
When, like, say you're using a jerk bait and you're just jerking it, dun, 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 that's actually really slow compared to these. So, listening to Andrew Hayes, I've done a little bit more research, like you said, of understanding the mouse, right? So
yeah.
Mouse is the goby or the crawfish, and if you don't understand their pattern, and because you're trying to mimic it in one way or another,
100%. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to mimic, the prey. We're mimicking to hopefully to get that initial predator reaction out of these fish, whether it's a largemouth, smallmouth, or even if you're fishing for pike, walleye, crappie, like it. But that's I like I said, I think that's just, it's phenomenal information that you've brought up there about that, because a lot of people, I think sometimes we forget about all of that, and we focus more on like, oh my God, did you see that new bait that came out? Oh yeah, I got like 6 packs of those. And it's like, yeah, for sure. And then you get out on the water and you've launched every 6 bait that you got. And, at the end of the day, did you really think about the conditions, that you're up against, your body of water that you're on, the time of year, your temperature, even is there a front on the way in? How many days away is it? Is it 2 days away? Is it a week away? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that change this. But no, like it is definitely a lot of fun to get out there, and a jig bite is definitely a fun bite. If you're not doing a jig bite, definitely give it a try.
I actually, it's actually intimidating because it's a different style of bite. But it was actually the Ned rig. The Ned rig is what got me into the jig bite. I fished long story short, I only had a pack of Neds in the car. And I started banging out little bass. Next thing you know, I'm throwing the Ned rig right in the grass, and I'm catching, good 3-4 pounders, 19s, 20s. And that progressed into, that's how I met Jesse French from Blue Rock, is he had the triple threat. It's a micro finesse jig, hand tied. Golly, just awesome. So I started throwing it with a Ned and just started banging fish. But the jig is it's hard because you're fishing on bottom. You got to know where to throw it, why to throw it, and then even rate of fall. Guys will be like, you throw, a 16th ounce. I'm like, yeah. Most guys are half ounce or more, right?
Yeah.
So get used to it. But I love the bite. It sounds stupid, but I watch a lot of GoPro. Like, I review my footage from the GoPro, and I watch, and and I do this with anybody that's fishing with a jig, whether it's YouTube or somebody else's channel, and I watch that tip, and I'm looking to see their reaction or my reaction. How delayed was it? Did I catch it? Did I miss it? You know, and that's been really helpful. Well, not I wouldn't helpful, but you kind of go, okay, I got a good grasp of the basics, right? And I think, with a finesse jig or micro finesse jig, if you can get that, then you can do almost any jig. And that's why, I'm focusing, on the football jig. I'm going to do a little bit of swim jigs, arky jigs, grounder jigs.
The swim jig is one of my favorites also. Finesse, I like the finesse jig, football jig, and the swim jig is by far my favorite, just because the finesse jig is, it's a small, compact little bait. So you can fish it different ways, but it's small and compact. So it's just kind of like a little sleeper snack that pulls in there, and it's an easy meal.
It's like a chocolate bar. Like, think about it.
It's not the full meal. It's just, it's like a little appetizer, but like football jigs or like arky jigs, jigs you may traditionally fish more bottom contact. I always say, like, for me, what lives on the bottom is generally what you're going to be imitating. And then the swim jig, well, that's, to me, it's like a no-brainer. Like, you can rig it different ways, obviously. Like, you can put whatever plastics you want on the back of it, but I always go with a paddle tail. Whether that's a 3 to 5-inch paddle tail that I'll put on it. At the end of the day, it's a great bite. It's a lot of fun, and you can fish it. You can fish it on casting. You can fish it on spinning. Like, there's nothing that says you can't fish it on this style of rod and reels. So
actually, I was just having that conversation with Nelson last week or the week before, just before CanCast, about swim jigs, because that's one of his favorite techniques. And
swim jigs.
I'm gonna dabble a little bit with that, but I just like the finesse style, arty style, and see how that goes, right?
I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with that. I look forward to seeing all those big catches. So as we come to an hour of the very first episode of the River Run, get shout outs, like, let him go, Jay. Like, let him know where to follow you. Where can we find Jay Brown in the world of social media? And if you have any people you want to give big shout outs to, now would be the time. The stage is yours.
Okay. I'm not really all that interesting, but if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Will Travel to Fish. My name's not Will, but I'm willing to travel. On IG or on Facebook, just Jay Brown. Shout outs. Oh God, I'm gonna miss somebody here, but I wanna thank Dave Omer first and foremost. There's I'm just gonna say it, Luther Cyphers. He's been
that's Yak Attack. We're talking Yak Attack. Luther Cyphers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Aaron Dodds.
There's a guy. Okay, I think I know that guy.
Yeah, my boy Andrew Cohen. If you guys want to see some killer lake trout, he has dialed in the lake trout bite from a kayak on the hard water. This guy is, and the thing is he is a hammer. You have to follow DC Guy. He's a hammer.
Yes,
it doesn't matter if it's lake trout, smallmouth, largemouth. The guy is a true hammer.
He is. He's dominated in a lot of the Kayak Bass Canada lines, and he's also come out to the Kayak Fishing Life Benefit for Chio on White Lake, and he's dominated on that lake too, twice.
Twice he
yeah,
comes
no.
and he, he places second, and he doesn't fish bass. He fishes lake trout. I mean, he just figures out patterns like, I mean, he's a wizard. I want to give a shout out to Fish USA. They are America's tackle shop. Like,
Right on, dude.
Line Act, Bonafide, Yak Attack, my teammates at Bonafide. Actually, Timmy Dixon, I want to give a shout out to Timmy. He's a river guy. I think you follow him.
Yes, I do.
I had a friend.
River Smalley's Adventures, I think, or
yeah.
Yeah.
So I reached out to my team and said, hey, a friend of mine's coming down from Ontario. Do you think you'd be able to hook him up? Timmy was first one to reach out, so I want to say thank you to Timmy. Warren Wong, I've already mentioned him. That guy's been great. Actually, I messaged him a couple weeks ago. I'm like, hey, dude, there's a guy selling another Calcutta. Can you grab it for me? He's like, not a problem. So, he's great like that. Nelson Bruins.
Yeah.
Nelly, if you're not fishing, Nelly's Fishing Adventures.
Nelly's Fishing. He's another fantastic human being. He's very awesome.
Obviously, we got to say a big shout out to you. Yeah, man. You know what? I am so happy and proud of you for doing this, bro. I've been, and for Brian Schiller and the guys over at Paddle and Fin to pick you up, dude. Like, this is what I've done is really nothing. You're reaching the whole demographic, North America wide. That is something to be proud of, I think that is something. The River Run, everything about it is great. I'd love to come back and actually just talk fishing, not so much, the whole history, but let's get on.
You're always welcome back. Like Jay said, there's going to be a lot of more episodes coming. Get ready for the River Run. Jay, thank you so much for taking your time tonight to come and talk with us about who you are, what your fishing is like. You are definitely somebody that I really enjoyed having on this show. And I just thought that if I was going to have anybody as my very first guest on this with me, then it had to be you, brother. You are a fantastic human being, and you have done a lot of really cool stuff. And at the same time, thank you so much. And once again, everybody, thanks for coming on down to the River Run. I am really excited to see where this is all going to go. And I thank you all for stopping by the River Run. I'm Adam, and I'll see you guys soon.
Prosser.